Welcome back to the bettors on Saturday morning, 27th of February. We have a nice little 7-game card. I'm putting up the odd screen as we speak. Not a lot of great games today, but I still think there is some value on the board. Pinnacle put up lines for most of the games, so market is more efficient than usually at this time when most of the lines are just offered by softbooks. All right, so we will get into it. If any comment or feedback, you can reach out to me on Twitter at the Barrel Zone. If you want to tell my plays, you can go to patreon.com/the Barrel Zone and join the Discord channel. So we will get right into it. First game on the board: Cleveland Cavaliers at the Philadelphia 76ers. One of the games where I show an edge. I haven't bet it yet. It's difficult to lay this many points, but I kind of like the Philly Sixers here. Harris will be out for them, but on the other end, Cleveland is still without, obviously, Love and Nance. Drummond won't play for the team. They are trading him, and Prince also out. Drummond is a huge hit. I have been talking about this. They said that they found a new franchise center in Allen, and he had a couple of great games, but overall, the depth is not there when it comes to the front court, in my opinion. And it will be bad in this game. So if you look into the matchup, I show a number edge. I make this 11 even with Harris out, Philly by 11. But overall, I think the matchup also kind of favors Philly. So Cleveland is coming in on extra rest. They did win 2 games finally. Obviously, they cover both games. But even with those 2 wins, they are still grading as the 22nd best offense and the 26th best defense in the league through the last 2 weeks with a minus 10-point differential. So still not great. Philly through the same stretch, grading as the 12th best offense, 16th best defense, plus 2-point differential. Not very good either, but they have faced a super tough recent schedule. Had some injuries, some guys were sitting out, and I think the Sixers got a bit unlucky in the last few games. When they got those L's. So yeah, Philly, first in offensive rebounding, and they are facing a Cleveland squad that's 26 in defensive rebounding. I'm always saying with Philly, if they can out-rebound you, they will beat you. That's likely the case here, especially with Philly without Cleveland without some of their bigs. Philly is drawing the most free throws in the league. Cleveland is allowing the 12th most. Defensively, Cleveland is allowing the 6th highest points per possession, 3rd highest effective field goal percentage. Overall, it's not good. And if you look at shot map, Philly is the third, putting up the 3rd most mid-range jumpers in the league. Cleveland allowing the 2nd highest field goal percentage on these shots. On the other end, Cleveland, if you look at the offense, they get to the rim at the 3rd highest rate. It's the same since Drummond has been out. I thought they will just kind of change this up, but they really didn't. But the Sixers allow the 6th lowest field goal percentage in the league in the paint. So I think the Sixers defense will be able to hold up. Cleveland offensively also giving away the most balls. It's just if you look into any stat, it favors Philly. It's pretty difficult to lay 10 points when the team is not having one of their 3 best players, although Harris is their 3rd best player. But they still have Embiid and one of the best defenders in the league in Simmons. I think the matchup is good. One tiny note: the market is at 10.5, but Pinnacle is at 10. I don't usually like that when Pinnacle is kind of leaning towards Cleveland. So I'll be waiting this out. If this gets to 9.5, I will be betting Philly for sure. Maybe at 10 also. As I said, my line is 11, so there is a small edge on the big home favorite here. Next game, Minnesota Timberwolves at the Washington Wizards. This is a game where we see the Wizards getting a bit overpriced. I like them a lot, but I mean, they aren't this good. And I think this will be a one-way market, despite what I'm saying, as the Minnesota Timberwolves are currently completely unbackable. So they are now they are without Russell. He has been averaging 19 points. Beasley also out now. He got a long suspension. He's averaging 20 points. Besides Karl Anthony Towns, who is limited to 30 minutes, there is one guy on the whole team remaining who is averaging more than 10 points, Edwards. So yeah, no matter what I'm saying, I might still go back, run my numbers again, and just try to find an edge on the Wizards somehow, as it really looks like a great matchup. Washington hosts the Clippers tomorrow, so that's not a slight look at spot. They might not end up blowing out Minnesota. They are just going to get the W and focus on the bigger game tomorrow. So yeah, Wizards through the last 2 weeks, they are grading as the 8th best offense, 8th best defense. They went 6-1 through the stretch. I think the lone loss came against the Clippers, the team they play tomorrow. But they have a +5 point differential on average, +8.6 against the closing spread. They beat some big name teams, but none of the teams were at full health. So I'm still not like upgrading them that much. They are great. They have been super strong on the super strong free throw rate on the offensive ends, solid defense. I looked at the stats. Improvements seem kind of real. This is a game they should win. They also, as I said, they draw the third most free throws. Minnesota allows the third most through the season. Wizards have a rebounding edge. Minnesota is just grading as the 26th best offense, 21st best defense through the last 2 weeks, -7 point differential. Minnesota attacking the rim at the 7th highest rate in the league. They didn't really change anything up when Towns was out. It was pretty similar. Wizards allowed the 6th highest field goal percentage there. They aren't a great defense in the paint, and we know that Karl Anthony Towns can always win a game on his own. So yeah, I think at the current price, staying away. But I mean, I think this is a game for the Wizards to lose. The matchup is overall as decent, and Minnesota without 2 of their 3 best scorers, and Karl Anthony Towns is limited to 30 minutes. This could get ugly, but I mean, I still don't trust the Wizards enough to pull the trigger. At least I didn't pull the trigger yet. Utah Jazz at the Orlando Magic. Jazz laying 10.5 on the road. Utah is on a back-to-back. They're coming off a loss. Starters played like 35 minutes. Nothing special. For Orlando, injuries, as always. Cole Anthony still out, Gordon still out, but now Ennis, who has been starting in small forward for them, he's also out. So they are down now 3 starters. Interesting that the Magic have been graded in points per possession as the best defense in the league through the last 2 weeks. They are only allowing 105 points per 100 possessions, which is really good. But they grade as the first offense, not just through the last 2 weeks, but through the whole season. So through the last 2 weeks, they have a 102 offensive rating. Through the season, it's 105. But I mean, yeah, so if you allow just 105 points per 100 possessions and you have a negative point differential, that's pretty bad. Obviously, injury is not helping, but still, I think this is a spot where the Jazz get back in the win column. If you look at some stuff, so that I went into look at the Orlando defense in depth, and I think the matchup is pretty decent for them. So they are actually graded as the best team in defensive rebounding in the whole league right now, which is super important going up against Utah, who is one of the most dominant teams in the glass. Orlando is also allowing just the seventh lowest free throw rate defensively. Utah is like league average at drawing those. So there are some stats similarly to last night's game against Miami that I mentioned, where I could find some edges for the Magic. But if you look at the Orlando offense against the Utah defense, it's just the biggest mismatch I think you can find between any two squads in the league. So Orlando is grading 29th offensively in points per possessions. They are the worst team in effective field goal percentage. They are 18th in offensive rebounding and the fifth worst in drawing free throws. Utah is in these categories is grading first, fourth, and second defensively. So, yeah, this is going to get ugly. Also, the Jazz, similarly to the Spurs, more mid-range jumpers than anyone else in the league. I think both these are the two teams who are averaging above 40% of all their shots coming from mid-range. But their efficiency is super bad. So despite putting up so many shots from mid-range, they are just 21st in field goal percentage from there, and the Jazz are allowing the second lowest field goal percentage in the league. So yeah, not a great matchup for the on the offensive end for the Magic. I'm still not going to touch this. I think laying 10 and a half points on the road on a back-to-back against a team with decent defense and decent rebounding is a big no-no for me. Next game, Indiana Pacers at the New York Knicks. Interesting one. Opened up Pacers -1. Line already flipped. I just noticed this while recording. So the Pacers are now dogs. New York is 1-point favorite. I don't know about that. I have the Pacers as half-point favorites. But it's a super tricky game. So yeah, Robinson and Payton are out for the Knicks. They play Detroit tomorrow. Not a game to overlook. Pistons are playing some decent basketball. Pacers coming off a loss against the Celtics last night. Starters played 30 plus minutes. I think I could make a pretty strong case, I think, for either team here, and my line is super close to the market. So unless we see a huge move, early money seemingly has been coming in on New York. So I mean, I could probably see myself backing the Pacers as dogs here. I still don't trust the Knicks. They have a huge rebounding edge here. They grade as the ninth best offensive rebounding and ninth best defensive rebounding, while the Pacers grade 22nd and 23rd. But I mean, Mitch Robinson out. He's averaging like 8 rebounds, so that's a hit for the Knicks, obviously. And while both of these defenses are grading in the top 10, and Knicks are better in most stats, I think the level of schedule the Pacers faced, it's a borderline top 10 schedule difficulty, while the Knicks face their third easiest schedule in the league. I think that's something that's further pushing me towards picking the Pacers here. And yeah, I think the Indiana offense is a bit better overall. Although the matchup isn't great, as I said many times, they are getting to the rim at the highest pace in the whole league. So the highest percentage of all their shots are coming within 4 feet of the rim. 43% of all their shots, which is insanely high. But they are just 24th in efficiency, and the Knicks allow the third lowest field goal percentage in the paint. Obviously, Robinson out will still hurt them. Will also hurt them in that category. So, yeah. But the Pacers also have a great defensive matchup. Knicks either attack the rim or put up short mid-range jumpers. Pacers allow the second and the fourth lowest field goal percentage against these. But I still feel like overall this Pacers defense is very decent. You can beat them. Last night, as I didn't watch the game yet, but the Celtics put up like tons of deeper shots. You can beat them by threes, but the Knicks aren't. When you look at the defensive shot map, Pacers really have a problem defending teams with lots of good 3-point shooters, but that's not the Knicks really. Pacers also force more turnovers. So yeah, I've been going back and forth on this. When I wrote up my notes, Pacers were favorites. Now they are dogs. Yeah, if see some further move towards the Knicks, I might jump on the Pacers here, but yeah, not enough edge for me yet. Uh, but yeah, I think they are still by far the better team, and it's just, I mean, I like the Knicks, but it's really hard to trust them, especially against a team that I think overall has much more talent. And if anything, the Pacers play below their overall talent level, while the Knicks are slightly overperforming, in my opinion. OKC Thunder hosting the Denver Nuggets, 7-point spread. Nuggets laying 7 on the road. They are still super banged up. Harris, Millsap, and Green are confirmed out. Dozier questionable. OKC on a back-to-back. They won last night against Atlanta. Horford set the game out, so he will be on fresh legs. Otherwise, starters play 30 to 35 minutes. Nothing special, the usual load. Not the best matchup for the Nuggets. That's I'm making this 7.5 to 8, so slight edge on the road team. But when I looked into the matchup, I don't want to back the Nuggets here. They are just 3-4 in the last 2 weeks. The injuries really hurt them. They had some amazingly bad losses last second. Just not a team right now that I can really trust. And OKC, I mean, their defense is super legit. I grade them, I think, as the 10th in the league right now. But if you just look at like net points per possession, they are grading 11th through the whole season. And overall, it's a really decent matchup for the Thunder here. They allow the third least free throws defensively, the 11th lowest points per possession, the 7th lowest effective field goal percentage. I mean, if you look at the Denver defense, they are bottom 8 in all these stats. And why I want back OKC here is that you can beat them in the paint, as I said multiple times. Their defense overall, perimeter defense, amazing, but they are decent against jump shots from anywhere. But they are bad in the paint. But the Nuggets are a bottom 10 team at shot frequency in the paint, which is pretty bad. As I always say, they are more like mid-range jumpers and threes. They I think don't match up really well here, and they aren't really a team that will change up their usual game plan against an opponent. So yeah, and OKC allows the 5th lowest field goal percentage in the whole league against mid-range jumpers, and the 2nd lowest field goal percentage against threes, which is pretty amazing. I think only the Knicks allow a lower 3-point percentage on average. So yeah, not a great matchup for Denver team that's still banged up, facing a relatively good defense here. And on the other end, Denver still cannot defend the rim. I'm saying this for weeks now. After the last loss, Murray also came out and said that they don't have anyone to stop the guys getting into the paint, and that's really what's happening. They allow a 70% plus field goal percentage within 4 feet of the rim. That's insanely bad. OKC is a top 10 team at getting to the rim. Horford obviously rested. So yeah, overall, I think if I would have to take a side, I would lean towards OKC just looking at the matchup. But my numbers make it 7.5 to 8. So yeah, that's the typical spot when you have to skip a game if you can, if your numbers like one team but you like the other. New Orleans Pelicans at the San Antonio Spurs. Super. I mean, if you look at the injury report of the Spurs, I think this will be the standard for the next few games, at least until the All-Star break. Most of their core rotation guys are either out or questionable. So yeah, what we know, Gay will be out, Keldon Johnson is out, Wessel is out, White is out. That's like a 2-3 point downgrade to the team overall. But the most important thing is DeRozan is questionable. He was out. He was away from the team for personal reasons. He might play here. But Aldridge got downgraded to questionable also. He has a wrist issue. So he just came back from injury. He played his first game and kind of got injured with something else. Yeah, I don't mind if he sits out, although any big bodies would be great against a matchup in a matchup with the Pelicans. But I mean, DeRozan is huge. If he's back, I kind of like the game and the spot for the Spurs. Um, Pelicans are just a dump team right now. Everyone is hyping up Zion and praising him for like passing the ball and stuff like that, but the team still sucks. They just 3-4 in the last 2 weeks. They have +1 point differential. I always said mini Brooklyn, but they are mini Brooklyn as Brooklyn started to play some defense right now. Pelicans are grading as the second worst defense in the league in points per possession, not just through the whole season, but through the last month, last 2 weeks also. Yes, the offense is great, but I mean, if you allow like 130 points, it doesn't really matter, does it? Pels are just 5-11 on the road, straight up. Obviously, they are laying multiple points now. Bet365 has a lineup. It's Pelicans -4.5. That's, I think, a good line. That's midway between my line with DeRozan and Aldridge in and out. So I would trade probably the game around somewhere in that neighborhood. I completely agree with that. So yeah, it's difficult to say big things about the Spurs when most of the rotation is out. But I mean, for a healthy Spurs, this would be an amazing matchup. As I always say, Pelicans similar to Philly. If they out rebound you and throw the extra free throws, they will beat you. Spurs are seventh in defensive rebounding and they give up the least free throws in the whole league. Super good fundamentals. I kind of like their approach, but it's difficult to back a team with this many guys sitting. Pelicans get to the rim at the second highest rate, but they are just 14th in efficiency, and the Spurs allow the second lowest field goal percentage in the paint, which is pretty decent and super important in this matchup. These two played a very close game when they first met back in December, but I mean, DeRozan had his worst game of his season. Then he played like 30 plus minutes and scored like 6 or 8 points, something like that. So I'm not taking too much away from that, and I don't think you will be able to take too much away from this game either because of the Spurs injuries. But I think, I mean, they have lots of middling talent. So like the guys out, like Keldon Johnson is decent, but still like Russell White, etc. I think they can back those guys up. If DeRozan plays, I would probably lean towards the Spurs. I don't like what the Pelicans are doing, and I don't care if Zion is looking good, but I mean, yeah, highlights are nice, but they are still losing games. Final game of the day: Dallas Mavericks at the Brooklyn Nets. I really like Brooklyn here. Mavericks closed as 5-point dogs in Philly just a few days ago, and the Nets are only laying 2.5 to 3.5 right now, depending on the shop. I still think you can find 2.5s, cheap money lines all over the place. Bwin has a great price on. They have a flat -2.5 and like a -140 something money line. That's the bet. Porzingis is questionable. Carlisle said that he expects him to play, but they will see where he is at on Saturday, which is not saying anything to me. But I don't really care now anymore if he's in or out. He has been out for more than 2 weeks. If he comes back, I think minute limit will be in place. He might also be rusty, so I don't really care. Brooklyn, KD still out. Jeff Green upgraded to questionable. Hopefully he's back. Nets won 8 straight games. This doesn't show in the current pricing. This price is super off, and the matchup is very good. So yeah, Nets great. It's the best offense in the league, both in points per possessions and effective field goal percentage. They are scoring 8 more points per 100 possession through the last 2 weeks. They have They are 7-0 in the last 2 weeks. They are scoring 8 more points per 100 possession than they did before in the season. But the big thing to me is the defense. They allow like 2.5 points less per 100 possession. They are actually playing some defense and grading as the 10th best defense in the last 2 weeks, leading to a plus 17.5 point differential, plus 12.5 against the closing spread on average. These are two terrible rebounding teams, but the Nets are still better. It's very rare that the Nets have a rebounding edge, but they do here. And as I said, they are first in points per possession and effective field goal percentage offensively. The Dallas defense ranks 27th and 21st. Both of these teams draw top 5 amount of free throws, but the difference is that the Nets allowed the 9th least in the league and the Mavs allowed the 9th most. So again, one more advantage to Brooklyn. Brooklyn with a better rebounding rate, better free throw rate, as I said, better overall offense, and the better overall defense also. So even now, if you just look at season-long stats, that includes times before the big three and when they started, I mean, they have been playing zero defense, but through the season they still rank better in all defensive stats than the Mavericks. And yes, Dallas face the toughest schedule in the league, but I mean, I cannot defend them. Furthermore, just saying this one line again and again, I don't really care. I mean, I would like to see some nice wins. If they beat Brooklyn now, I mean, hats off. I don't think they will. So yeah, Dallas is putting up the 6th most 3-pointers in the league, but they are just 20th in efficiency on these. And actually, the Nets' 3-point defense has been getting way better and consistently better if you look at their game logs. Through the season, they are now just allowing the 7th lowest numbers of threes made and the 9th lowest field goal percentage on these. And on the offensive end, I've looked at the shot map, and anywhere you look on the floor, the Brooklyn Nets are within the top 10 in effective field goal percentage, which is insane. 3-point range, short mid-range, around the rim, in the paint, everywhere they are a top 10 field goal percentage team. And in the last 2 weeks, they also forced top 5 most turnovers, which wasn't a thing before. It's a great addition from a team that hasn't been really playing any defense. And they are allowing an average free throw rate of 15, which is like 19 is the league average. So they are barely giving up any free throws. Those turnovers are getting forced. Rebounding is better. Everything is great. And we are not buying high on a team that's 2.5 point home favorite. So yeah, I think even with KD out, I don't really care if KD is out. They showed us that they can make it work without him. Usage rate is going to the other stars. This line is off right now. So bet the house on the Brooklyn Nets. Summing it up, I have a slight number edge on Philly. I think they should be 11. It's currently 10 right now. Still haven't bet it. This dipped to 9.5 for a few seconds, but came back to 10. We will see. Under 10, I think I'm interested in Philly. At 10, it's kind of lukewarm. Pacers, if this gets to like 2, I would probably interested in. I make them half-point favorites. New Orleans at San Antonio. Here you have to monitor the injuries. If DeRozan is in and you are quick and can jump on like a 4.5, that's an amazing deal. And I like the Brooklyn Nets. Any price you can scoop up right now, that's the side to go with here, I think. All right, thanks for tuning in. Same time tomorrow. I see you guys. If you want to grab my plays, you can go to patreon.com/theperalzone. March is almost here. We have 1 day left from the month, and we are 1 month away from baseball. Super interesting times. So yeah, good luck with your wagers. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow.